Hello all, I'm Marin. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about my 2026 TBR. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now last year in 2025, I did a different approach to my TBR than I had in previous years. Prior to 2025, I was doing the 20 blank in 2020 blank format, as most people on BookTube seem to do, it feels like. But I took a break from that because I talked about how I felt like the number of books that were getting put on this list were getting to be unmanageable. So instead, I only chose 12 books for 2025 to read in that year. However, as I was thinking about my reading plans for 2026, I realized that 26 books is not actually as unmanageable as I was making it out to be, as long as I am being strategic with my picks. So I have broken down my 2026 TBR into different categories that will help me achieve goals that I have set for myself with my reading in the new year. So that way I will be putting books that I was already planning on reading onto this TBR rather than just picking 26 random books that wouldn't necessarily help me meet goals. I know, groundbreaking ideas, but for some reason it never actually clicked for me when I was making these TBRs to put books on there that I was already going to read. I don't know why, but all of a sudden it clicked this year. So I have broken this list down into basically 4 categories. The first one is the 12 books that I am reading for the Buzzword Challenge, which is hosted by Kayla over at Books and Lala. I will link her announcement video down below in the description so you can go back and watch that. But I have participated in the Buzzword Challenge, I think for 3 or 4 years now, so I want to keep that streak going. So the first 12 books on this list are going to be my 2026 Buzzword picks. The next group of books on this list are going to be series finales, books that will help me complete a series and in which I only need to read 1 book to complete the series. So there are 6 of those, so that will take up the next 6 slots. Then I set a goal to read 6 translated works in 2026. So the next 6 books on the list are going to be those books. And then finally, I have a goal to read 80%, which is a lot, of my 2025 purchases because I did not do a good job reading those books last year. So the remainder of the list will have some of those books to work towards that goal. So that's how I've done this list, and because of it I feel like this is actually a very manageable number. I read over 100 books in a year, so 26 books is not actually that many considering that all of these were already on my TBR for the year. So hopefully that makes sense what my thought process is. Now let's go ahead and take a close look at each of these things. I have created graphics, so I will have them on the screen, and I'm just going to talk you through each of the picks. So here we go. Starting with the Buzzword picks for 2026, January's prompt is to read a book with before or after in the title. So I will be reading Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I hope I said that correctly. This one I have on my Kindle and I've had it for a couple of years, so it's time to get it read. This actually is a translated work as well, so it will tick off 2 boxes with 1 book. February's Buzzword pick is to read a book with a keyboard key in the title. Now she said that this could be a letter or number, or it could be like a functional key. So I have decided to go with a functional key, and I have chosen the escape key. So I will be reading A Well-Trained Wife, My Escape from Christian Patriarchy by Tia Levings. A friend of mine read this and said it was really, really well done. This will actually also double up for the Buzz cover prompt for February. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. I do not own this one, but I know I can get it from my library. So that will be pick 2 for 2026. March's Buzzword pick needs a book with this or that in the title, and I am actually going to be using a 2026 release for this that I have pre-ordered, and that is The Lies That Summon the Night by Tessonja Odette. This one is a fantasy book, fantasy romance, I believe, something to do with dragons, and that is all I know about it really, so that will be book number 3 on my 2026 TBR. April's prompt is to have a book with ordinal numbers in the title, so I will be reading The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. This is a book of the month book that I picked up in 2024 and didn't get read. This one also will work for a buzz cover prompt, so again, 2 birds, 1 stone, etc. May's pick is to have a book with the word make in the title, so I will be reading The Shoemaker's Wife by Adriana Trigiani. I read a book by her a few years ago and really loved it and have had this one on my radar ever since, so this is the perfect opportunity to get this one read. June's buzzword pick is to read a book with a 1-word title, so I will finally be reading Severance by Ling Ma. This is one that's gotten quite a lot of hype, and again, this one works for a cover prompt as well. July's prompt is to read a book with an occupation in the title, so I will be reading The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. This one, Kayla herself really loved this year, and it sounds really interesting, so I'm hoping I will love it just as much. August's pick is to have some kind of group or society or something in the title. She mentioned that like band names would count. So I will be reading The Disenchantments by Nina LaCour. This is the last backlist book by her that I need to read to have read her entire backlist, and it will get me ready for her new release later in the year. So hopefully I will love this one. The Disenchantments are a band, so it works for the group or club name. September's pick is to have the word me or my in the title. This is one that I do not own, but I have been curious about since I heard about it last year, and that is Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. I have a 2026 release by her on my Libby holds, so I'm looking forward to giving this one a read as well. I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it. October's pick needs to have parts of a house in the title, so I will be reading The Door by Magda Jabo. This is a translated book, and it will also fulfill a buzz cover prompt, so this time I'm getting 3 goals out of 1 book. November's prompt is to find a book with an instructional phrase in the title. So in other words, it's telling you to do something. So I will be reading Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which is obviously telling you to do something. This was a 2025 pre-order that I had that I didn't read, so I'm glad to finally put it on this list and get it read. And finally, December's buzzword is to have a superlative in the title, so best, worst, etc. So I will be reading a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares by Krystal Sutherland. I read a book by her a few years ago and really enjoyed it. This one I think is horror-ish, so I'm looking forward to giving this one a read as well. All right, now I'm moving on into the second group of books on this list, and those are the series finales. These are parts of duologies or trilogies, and these are the final books in those series, so I will be able to cross them off of my series TBR, which is always exciting. So the first one on this list is The Voyage Home by Pat Barker. This is book 3 in her Women of Troy trilogy, so obviously this will complete that series for me. The next book on my list is Thief of Night by Holly Black. This is her second book in her Charlatan, I think. Charlatan duology is what it's called. This one was a 2025 release that I just didn't have time to read, so I will be able to check it off this year. Then we have One Golden Summer by Carley Fortune. This is the sequel to Every Summer After, which I read this year and really enjoyed and will complete that duology. Next, we have Dark Corners by Megan Golden, which is the second book in her Rachel Crawl series. Now, I don't know if she's planning on writing any more of these, but as it stands right now, this is a duology, so that's why I've put it on this list. Then we have Iona the Last Dragon Eye by Allison Goodman. This is a fantasy series that I read the first book in a really long time ago, so I'm hoping I haven't left it too late. There are no audio versions of this available, so I will need to read this one physically. I do own it, and I need to get it read to decide whether I'm going to keep the books on my shelves or give them away. And finally, the last book on my series list is About a Girl by Sarah McCarry. This is the third book in her Metamorphoses series, which are a series of interconnected standalone novels featuring Greek mythology. I really liked the first 2, so I want to go ahead and complete the series this year. I have this one as an ebook, so need to get it read. All right, now Now let's move on to the next set of books on this list, which are the translated works. Now I've already mentioned 2 of these because they were buzzword picks, but I'm going to go ahead and mention all 6 of them again here just so that I have them all in one place because they are on the slide together. So the first one is Voices from Chernobyl by Svetlana Alexievich. This one, I believe, is like a collection of interviews that the author did. I'm not quite sure, but I've heard good things about it. It is translated, I believe, from Belarusian, so obviously it fits for translated works. Then we have the very popular Bear Town by Fredrik Backman. I have never read anything by Fredrik Backman, but I have been curious about this series for a while and am looking forward to giving the first one a read to decide if it's something I want to actually continue with. The next book is Vita Nostra by Marina Dyachenko. I think this one also, no, this one is Ukrainian, correct? I think it's Ukrainian. This one is a dark academia book that a lot of people talk about. I don't have the best of luck with dark academia, but I am very curious about this one, so we'll see what I think. The next book I put on this list is We'll Prescribe You a Cat by Siu Ishida. I am suckered in by any book that mentions a cat in the title, so I did pick this one up on ebook and I'm looking forward to giving it a read and seeing what I think. I believe it is the start of a series, so I will have to decide after I read this first one if I want to continue. And then the last 2 are books that I've already mentioned with the buzzword challenge. So we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold and The Door. So those are the 6 translated books that I'm hoping to read in 2026. And the last set of titles are just books that I purchased in 2025. As I mentioned, I purchased a lot of books in 2025. These are just 4 of them. I just randomly selected them. There's really no reason for them to be on here except that I was going to read them anyway. So there really was no right or wrong answer in terms of the last 4 books on this list. So the first one up is The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. This is the sequel to The Spell Shop. I believe, again, these are interconnected standalone. I really liked The Spell Shop. This one is book 2 and there is a book 3 coming out later this year. So I want to go ahead and get number 2 read. Next on this list is Swept Away by Beth O'Leary. This is a book that I had pre-ordered and just did not get around to, so wanted to go ahead and check it off with the help of this list. Then I have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. The sequel to this one is coming out later this year, so I want to go ahead and get this one read before that happens, so I will be ready for the new release and decide on if I actually want to continue the series or not. And the last book on this list is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. I read From Lukov with Love a few years ago, really loved that one, so I've wanted to check out more from this author for a really long time. This one is the one that I picked up because it was on sale on Kindle, I believe, so I went ahead and grabbed it during that sale and now need to go ahead and officially get it read to decide if I want to continue reading from the author or not. So there you go. That is my 26 and 2026. A lot of these books, as I mentioned, will fulfill multiple reading goals. So I feel really good about the list that I put together, and I'm hopeful that that will make it easier for me to actually check them off and get them read in a timely fashion. Only time will tell. But anyway, that's going to conclude this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me. If you made it to the end of this video and would like to leave an emoji to show you were here, you can go ahead and leave a book stack emoji in honor of the 26 books that are already on my 2026 TBR. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.